Project 007 is an upcoming stealth video game that is being developed and published by IO Interactive. The project was announced 2 years ago and still gathers a lot of interest from the community about what this game will look like and when it will release. Recently, a community member found details that gives us a more clear picture of when to expect this title, so let's get into that. As always, all the sources will be linked in the description below, so make sure to check those out and support those original writers. And with that out of the way, let's get into the release update for Project 007. I will also say, if you are interested in this title, I have already made a video covering everything we know about the game, and that is a good starting point, so make sure you watch that and then come back to this video. Moving on, the release news was first noticed by Dark Detective on Twitter. They were looking through IO Interactive's annual report and noticed under the Outlook section of the report it contained a few sentences about the future games from the studio. And the exact quote said, "We had a couple of years with solid revenue and profits due to the launch of a title. There is a risk the next couple of calendar years, the EBITDA and profits will drop. This is due to long production phases ahead before the next releases hit market. More precisely, fiscal 24 and 25 estimates show a significant decrease." What this means in normal terms for Project 007 is that the game will most likely not launch until after March of 2025 at the earliest. The company isn't expecting high profits in the next few years, and this is due to no new games launching from the studio. And the fiscal years end for companies at the end of March for any given year, which means Project 007 will not launch until April of 2025 at the earliest, given that they're saying lower profits for fiscal 25, which would end, as I said, at the end of March. It's worth noting that this still is up in the air. The studio is not sure that this will happen, but is expecting it. The studio is still building up its staff to support multiple game developments at one time, which I mentioned in my last video, and they're still staffing up a lot, so it makes sense that they just can't turn around these games as fast as they want to. And that brings me to my final story, which will cover job openings currently at the studio. I covered some jobs in my initial video, but now 2 more openings had some details that caught my attention. The first is for a senior character artist that is being hired specifically for Project 007, which, before I even get into the details, should still tell you how early this game is in development when they are still hiring concept artists. But the listing states that the role will include producing concepts for locations, characters, and other game assets, as well as working on wrapping and marketing material. They will also be responsible for creating great clothing concepts, which provide the aesthetic value needed to help bring Bond and the Bond universe to life. It's not surprising that this game will take place in multiple locations, but I appreciate that the clothing concepts get a special call out as a big priority for this individual and what they will work on day to day. And the last job I wanted to discuss is for the senior AI designer, which lists under what the person in this role will do as, quote, "suggesting new archetypes and boss fights that fit the vision and style of a James Bond game, all the way from creative and technical design prototypes to enemy behaviors and abilities." And this is exciting because I'm interested to see what types of bosses the team will create and how this will work in a James Bond style game. I'm not sure how they will fit into the gameplay loop the team has normally created up to this point, where I normally don't think of their encounters as having bosses per se in the Hitman franchise. I know technically the Hitman games have bosses, but I still want to see what that next iteration of that is and if they will go the more traditional action route with these bosses. Either way, I think whatever this person comes up with will be really interesting, and they obviously just have to get into it and actually start working on the game before we get any concrete details. But looking ahead, it looks like bosses and some sort of gameplay loop following that will be in this title. And that, for the most part, should get you back up to date on Project 007 and the release for the game. I will keep making videos when more information is released, and I can't wait to see what the team is creating. Either way, that's where I'm going to end this video. Make sure to like and share, subscribe for weekly gaming news, and I will see you guys in the next one.